Back again. Unreal how fast the days go. It feels like we just got done an hour ago, doesn't it, Lewis?
It does. And so oh, we just went live. It was a major delay today. Hello,
Yeah,
everybody.
we are live. Yep.
So
Ah,
busy, busy.
yes, and very quick too. It's kind of fun to see how quickly the days go by here, and we've got so much that we got to do and so much to get done. But here we are, and we have great guests. One of them just popped into our back room. Can't wait to get started with interviewing them.
Oh, yeah, we have great guests today. I'm kind of excited about today. We're not doing the news, folks, although maybe knowing Robert and or myself, we'll maybe bring up some news stories today, which will be cool. But I kind of like the fact that we're doing an interview format today. I've been working hard, tired, and I kind of get to chill and pay attention to these two brilliant men that we're bringing on.
Cool, outstanding, outstanding. All right. Let's see here if we can. Well, we're missing one, so I've got one, but not the second one. What do you think?
Yeah, bring them on, and you may have to go blank screen on your fourth one. I already texted him though.
Okay. Well, give me a minute to just set him up here, and you could do the introduction while I do that.
Cool, absolutely. Well, first of all, guys, you are this is normally SBG News and Views. We're changing our format a little bit, so we'll be doing the news on Monday and Wednesday, Robert and I, and then Robert and Bruce Poppy will be doing it on Friday. And then what we're going to do is every week on Tuesday and Thursdays, those are going to be interview days. So it should be very, very exciting for everybody. I know when we talked about this format change, it's something that everybody was very interested in. If you have not gone yet, go to rememberyouroath.com, rememberyouroath.com. It's free. It's how you can get involved and start making a difference. Um, so actually, we have two guests. So I'm going to introduce first. One is a gentleman named Michael JACO. You probably don't even know him. I don't know. He's more infamous than famous. Uh, his past is pretty awesome. He was a Navy SEAL and a contractor for the CIA. And so he has a lot of insight. I wouldn't say inside information, that'll get him in trouble, but he has a lot of insight on current events and what's going on. And we're also going to probably talk a little bit to him about things that you may consider a little more esoteric, remote viewing, maybe, I don't know, secret soldier programs, a whole bunch of stuff. Or maybe this event in Miami that I say is bullshit and all the Patriots are pissed off at me right now. So the other person that we're going to bring on is Alan Fountain. And Alan Fountain is actually he's a whistleblower and he's been infiltrated by the deep state. He has a fantastic base of knowledge, very articulate, and he also is interested in getting into more of the esoteric conversations today. So, Robert and Braley, take it away.
Take it away. Well, here is our buddy Michael Jaco. Michael, welcome to the program. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Thanks.
So,
Cool.
well, let's bring on Alan too. Can you go four screens, Robert?
I'm working on it right now. I just need a couple because they didn't come in early, so I
Okay,
didn't get a chance to set it up. So I'm setting it up as we speak.
take your time. Take your
Okay.
time. So let's start with Michael, and then we'll bring on everybody, do more of a round table. But Mike, what do you think about what's going on now? I mean, it seems like we've had more news in the first 9 days of this month than the last 9 weeks combined. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's basically moving very quickly to the judicial side. I think that last year was a build up to exposing. It was the year of exposure. I think the year of people coming out and talking about the problems that are out there. The year of reveal, I called it, and this year I'm calling the year of the judicial year. So basically, we're going to start to see, I believe, some of these people wrapped up and go before either the public or before judicial systems or so forth, which is what I really think is going to happen. So we've seen Epstein, to give an example, it's basically been a build up, build up, build up, And I think that a lot of people are like, okay, let's get it. We want the list. We want the list. We want the list. And it really became a crescendo to the point where it had to come out. And I think that's the thing that really, makes the difference in this year, that people are seeing that if they really get involved on a very large level, and there's just a loud cacophony of people saying, do this, do this, do this, then it's going to happen. And that's my thing that I'm doing this year, is basically, come on, let's get together. Let's make this happen. Let's make this the year of the judicial year and us taking back our power.
Yeah, that's interesting. I also find it interesting you use the word cacophony. Is that when a doctor checks you for a hernia? That's a cacophony.
I don't know.
Prostate exam.
That's awesome. I'm not as multisyllabic as you are, though, so I appreciate the intelligence. Yeah, I'm with you on this. It's going to be very interesting. The reality is there's two forms of reveal, and tell me what you think about this. You have the reveal that we, as say the patriots or conspiracy tinfoil hat wearing people, already knew about. And then you have the reveal where the public, let's just call it the people that watch Twitter X. That's the reveal, I think, that really started happening last year. It's interesting because for many of us, it was boring because we're like, we knew it. You know what? I just noticed my mic wasn't in front of me. I bet you I sound much better now, Robert.
Oh, yeah, you do.
So nobody wants to hear me anyways. The reality, though, is the reveal now is playing out to the public, which I think is epic, and it's making a huge difference. Are we ready to bring on Alan, Robert?
We are. Yep.
Okay, so let's get all four of us on the screen. Alan Fountain, how are you doing, and what is your take on the news so far this year?
Hi, guys. Well, I'll tell you, my take is going back over the last 10 years and discerning what experiences I've had. And I discern things by vibration feeling. And so I'm associating what is real with a feeling. I'm trusting that vibration frequency. So what I've done so far this year is I've gone back and I've assessed situations I've had, what might have been an infiltration from a black hat, what might have been organic light, people working for the light. And I'm coming to some conclusions based on trusting that aspect of my journey. I think we're like, I like what Michael just said earlier. Also, I'm realizing that I'm having more faith in a lot of the possibility that we're not alone in the universe capacity, only based on personal experiences I've had. So I'm going down some of these aspects of the esoteric of the timelines, time travel, the possibility that we're being assisted by higher energies, whether in the angelic realm or off-Earth species, that are in a different timeline, et cetera. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Yeah, well, I'm with you on that. The reality is, I'm going to be honest. Probably 10 years ago, I analyzed the hell out of everything until I realized that you're just take a deep breath, and your natural discernment comes, what I believe, through God, but it comes through us, right? And I think we can pick up on anything if we're open to it. So I'm with you on that, and I think it's very important that we get into the frequencies also, because everything travels around frequencies. So, Michael, what do you think about frequencies and just the discernment level when you just resonate on what feels right?
Well, I think the frequencies are definitely changing, and I like this one woman that's on YouTube, Elizabeth April. She just talked about the mall incident in Miami, and her take on it, which I agree with, because she's a remote viewer as well. She looked at it and she said that basically the energies had shifted to the point we're always surrounded by extraterrestrial types. Yeah. They're always there. They're always checking on us. They're like, well, look at the humans. Look what they're doing. And so the energies have changed enough because we're raising our consciousness, our vibrational frequencies, and a lot of us are seeing through stuff. And so I think a lot of people saw through the shields and the stuff that normally keeps these guys separate from us, even though they're amongst us. And so her remote view, and I was like, that's very interesting. I resonate with that. So I remote viewed it as well. I do not see it as a Project Bluebeam type situation. I never saw that right from the beginning. Intuitively, I was like, "Nah, that's bullshit."
Sorry.
And so I agree with what she's saying, that it is a resonant frequency type thing, that it was kind of like they didn't expect it, and they saw that the humans were looking at them like, "Oh my God, the humans would see us."
Yeah.
So, and then of course a lot of people ran out. Oh, some people weren't like blown away by it, and I've heard some of them talk, and they talk, articulately about it, and they're like, I didn't take out my phone because I'm like, geez, they're like aliens. I'm just out of here, And so the police, I guess, showed up, as we saw, in massive numbers, and they're stopping people that as they come out of the mall. It's like, let us see your phone, and no, you don't have anything on it. Okay, you can go. And then, oh, you got something on your phone? Go over here and talk to these guys in the black suits and.
Yeah. they got the little flasher.
Right.
Men in black.
So I'll be the contrarian here, because although I do trust your remote viewing, the reason why I don't buy it is because I dug into it a little bit. The report where there's 2 or 3 teens with sticks, that's not true. There was over 50 teens that were looting the stores and blowing up firecrackers in the store. They would easily send 30 cops to a location like that. Protocol is they block off the air travel within that area. It's because they'll put up a bunch of helicopters looking for all the possible perpetrators. Those are the facts that I dug into. My biggest issue was because I thought it was a very compelling story, especially with so many people saying this is what they saw. But with hundreds of people there, which, somebody trips and falls, they're going to take a video of it or a picture of it immediately. And not only that, they're going to get it posted up on social media or go live. A lot of these people go live on Facebook, but none of that exists. I get the fact that the so-called men in black can grab as many people as possible, but that was a mass event. So I guess that's where my skepticism came, and I'm very open to these things, but that's just my take on it.
I've done some light digging and watching, and I know what's coming out in collective consciousness on TikTok, et cetera. You have to be mindful, even though it sounds very articulate, of discerning, is this a distraction in a narrative where they're trying to use distraction? But one of the things I said is that they showed a portal opening in this TikTok, and that these beings had come through this portal based on putting into their calculations the wrong latitude and longitude. That if you do an inversion of what the latitude and longitude is of the mall, it comes to Antarctica. All you got to do is change 2 elements, reverse them, and it takes you to Antarctica. So they were trying to make the suggestion that they were going to Antarctica. So this could be soft disclosure by putting out that longitude, latitude, matching the mall, as being, by changing it from southwest to southeast, it becomes Antarctica. Or you put the longitude and the latitude reversed. And so this is what I saw on TikTok. I didn't fact check the actual longitude and latitude, but that came out. So we know someone is pushing that narrative. A lot of my starseed information that I can identify with the concept of starseeds. And I also know that I'm going to start talking about things that I've never talked about because we're going down that road. Early in my journey, I felt above my person in the air. I thought, what is that? Is this a fucking UFO? That I felt like I was surrounded by whether you would say it was a beam of energy or whatever, frequency downloads, protection. This was in Atlanta early on, 2015, 2016. And I felt it coming from above. We could say it's military. We could say it's whatever, but there was something that was helping with my journey that was coming from above. And I've never seen a physical in-person alien. I only know that I identify with higher frequency. I used to astral travel as a child. I used to be able to use kinesiology in my dreams, to force things out. So if there are star seeds or people that might be here that have different abilities, these are things I can identify with. When you're very, very young, 2 and 3 years old, and you have those experiences, you don't think that anyone externally has had time to manipulate you. Because it started changing at age 5 when they started traumatizing me. I didn't notice the astral travel and the esoteric, kinetic abilities, kinetic stuff, So that's just my thing on going back and putting some validation of personal first-hand experiences with my journey. And the conversation I had with you earlier talked about, that maybe the reason we're participating in this might be something uniquely identifiable to the individual.
Which I do believe that. I believe everybody has a unique identifier, and which is also what the bad guys goes after, and that's why I think they know ahead of time who they try to take out, who they try to manipulate, who they try to push around, even though it doesn't all work, because we do have a unique identifier, and they may have Project Looking Glass. It's interesting. So exactly. What you just said actually ties into what Michael was saying, is if there was a transversing of numbers, this action was supposed to happen someplace else.
Yeah.
And they could have been surprised at the moment, which I find very interesting. The one thing that's compelling that would draw me in the direction of this may be an event, let's call it an event, is the fact that we know Project Bluebeam is real.
Yeah.
Right. And so at minimum, it could have been something like that. So it's very, very interesting.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say about Project Bluebeam. I don't know what you and Michael's discernment is, but I was told that if you need to validate whether it's Project Bluebeam or not, use the red laser. It'll pass through Project Bluebeam, but not other entities. So what are your thoughts on that? I didn't mean to.
No, that's great, Michael.
Yeah. So when I remote view the Project Bluebeam, it's basically a frequency like we're talking about. So yeah, a laser, if it passes through, it's probably passing through, a different frequency or whatever. But I get that the blue crackle. When I see it crackling, and it's almost like there's a frequency shift, like portaling type stuff, coming from a different dimensional vibrational field and coming into our reality. So I don't know why it's blue. I haven't figured that out yet. But that's what I see when I remote view it. Now, as far as like the aliens, I've been exposed to the little grays.
Okay,
They pulled me out of a tent one time and took something out of my shoulder, which was some kind of implant they were using to like track me. And then I've seen, when I was in the CIA, I saw some people shapeshift reptilian type. So
nice.
You can catch that, and it's a frequency type thing. I think that if your frequency is of a certain vibrational level, you pick up on more of this stuff, and I think that's what humanity is moving more towards now. To give you credence, Lewis, here in Florida, they have said that they will not allow any kind of Black Lives Matter rioting and stuff like that. So anything that may have been looking like that, like what you're talking about, yeah, they would have a big police presence that would show up. So you have to look at everything. I think a lot of people have already like gone hook, line, and sinker into some of this. I think with all of these things, you're going to see opportunists come in and just talk BS just to get attention. Then you're also going to have people come in that are part of, the dark side, which will put stuff in to try and discredit. And if someone goes off on a tangent, and then they can expose, we just joke, we're joking people on this. And then whoever like went off on that tangent they discredited. So you have to I've just basically take a step back. I'm not really going anywhere with this. I'm just watching it at this point. So there could be lots of different things that are happening here from my remote viewing. It seems like there's some real activity going on there, and it could be just simple, like what I talked about. Or I don't know. We'll see if it's more complicated than that. I don't know.
That's interesting. So when you talk reptilians, they have the ability to shapeshift. Wouldn't you agree? And I've said this to people and they get kind of offended by it. I believe there's actually good reptilians also that decided not to work for the dark side. They don't want to deal with that, and they want to work for good. Just like we would have double agents in something else. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Go ahead, Alan.
I discern that to be true because I'll tell you, in our current during the Truthathon, I talked about that there was a duality, and that there was also that I wasn't comfortable labeling people good or bad, because I think there's compartmentalized energies and compartmentalized usage of people. Because I'm thinking that I have encountered across my journey people that might be either covertly or secretly aligned with a contracting position, an intelligence field position. And what they've done is they have a compartmentalized role, so they don't really know the full range of the operation, where people like myself or maybe Michael or other people who are observing these things throughout their journey, we have a broader spectrum of seeing from A to Z, where they only see B to D. And so for that reason, I think that would be possibly true in our off-Earth or galactic realities. People's role or their organic nature might not allow them to do that. I feel like my organic nature has, I won't say my organic nature prevented me from being negative or doing something bad. What happened is in my journey, I learned that the trauma of the molestation and the MK Ultra attempts, etc., and the trauma was grooming me to be someone who might commit a petty crime so I could get a blackmail file. I might do something where they could easily put me under control. And when I started feeling the shame associated with that potential risk, I went into recovery and reversed that opportunity to ever let that happen. So I think a lot of this is energetically, and it can happen it says we're all energy anyway. What affects us in the reality could probably affect what's off Earth as well. Because I'm learning these star seeds that might be here, and I'm thinking that might be something that I'm associated with. That these energies, might be less resistant to that, or their old souls might resist some of these things that other people were. But I think there's a duality. I know I kind of went off on that, but
no, that's great. Robert, you can jump in anytime. By the way, we love you.
I'm enjoying the conversation more than anything. And, one of the things that comes up is you said it yesterday, Lewis, you had on our show, and you had said, hey, we've got all these teens at this mall in Miami. Every single one of them is armed with a camera. Why aren't there any videos? Why aren't there any photos of what may or may not have taken place? And, the story is, well, they were running for their lives. They were scared, this, that, and the other thing. But there's always one. Right. I'm the quintessential photographer. That's my training as a photographer. And it's camera first. Right. I'm secondary. I'm always doing the camera first. And you say, well, where did all those images go? Well, then we hear the story that, they were being stopped outside the mall and their phones were being erased. And I thought about it and I said, the truth of the matter is this is the easiest thing in the world to do. Because every photograph, every video you take comes with it a lot of metadata, which is time and date stamp and location data, right? And it would be the easiest thing in the world for iCloud or Google Play or any of that to just put a couple of lines of code in there to remove all those files. Anything that was filmed at this time at this location, wipe it out, clean it off. And Lewis, I know you have the story about your wife's having January 6 videos removed from her phone.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah. I've had that.
Literally crazy. Well, I think, and if I'm not giving it away, I think, Michael, you've had direct contact with that technology in the past, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah. There's definitely very, very high tech stuff that's out there. The Space Force, they have technologies way more advanced than we have right now. I've been involved in those technologies, throughout my career and in the CIA and so forth. I'm not that far removed from it, but enough that technology changes 6 months and it's like everything's outdated. But as far as going in and scrubbing phones, Easy, very easy to do. Lewis, you might remember on January 6th that the phones weren't working.
Yep.
So they have technology which basically will shut down, phones, or they can like see whatever has gone out on a phone or what has been, gone on a phone, video, whatever. And just like,
Yeah, they had some. I don't know if you remember, Michael. They had these weird towers too. I think they were portable. They were yellow, I believe, and they had these weird antennas. And at first, I'm thinking, oh, maybe these are portable cell towers. I think they were scramblers.
right.
Is what
EMP.
word.
EMP.
Yeah, because I looked into this later, and that's exactly the way they would deploy scramblers. So talk about being set up on every level. I mean, so let's assume those are scramblers. Anybody with I don't know 2 to 3 brain cells that they can rub together could answer. Should be able to listen to this question and go, huh? So why would there be a need for our government to place scramblers in that crowd?
Well,
They're not, and they're not going to be able to answer it unless they said they were in cahoots with the fake insurrection talk.
I want your opinion on something. I looked at the YouTube video of the aerial event, and those cars, I could not see police on the side of the cars. They reminded me of the Umbrella Academy, the Adjustment Bureau cars that I've seen. They looked like they had lights on the top. I could see lights, but I could not see any writing. Has anyone seen a close-up visual of the actual cars where you can see police on the side? My take and look is they're all white, which matches the cars that I've met during some of my weird encounters. So that would be something that I would want to check out. Which if they aren't plain white cars, they're part of the some contracting or government or military or agency versus being police. Because I could not, I pulled up close. I could not see any writing on the automobiles. They were generic white cars. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think at this point we're just watching. You bring up really good points. At this point, we're watching for more information to come through. It's very common in these instances where you're going to get a leak here, you're going to get a leak there, and you start to piece this together. And get a better view, but just have to be aware that they're going to try and infiltrate negative or misdirection. That's absolutely coming if it hasn't already. So it is one of those things you kind of step back from and look at. I mean, one great example is Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin. He ends up supposedly in a hospital for several days, and no one knows about that. And it's where is he? And so he probably got, blown up in Ukraine when Russia hit all those contractors and NATO officers that were in Ukrainian buildings. Yeah. I bet he was there. Yeah. And they're just covering it all up. I saw a broadcast
not supposed
today.
To be there too. It would
exactly.
So it would look really bad.
We can look at Joe Biden. It's not Joe Biden. Yeah. And then sometimes we look at, Trump. It's that's not Trump. It's somebody standing in for these people. And I think in Biden's case, he's been removed.
Well,
interesting. Yeah.
Virtually since the beginning of time, every single major leader, I'm talking about thousands of years back, had body doubles.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for us to be in the year 2024 and say, no, there's no body doubles, it's come on, guys, for thousands of years, they've used body doubles to protect the elite. And so are they not going to use them here? Of course they are. And the technology is so far advanced on the masking now. So guys, when you see the Joe Biden's with the jacked up part in the back, and it's clearly he's wearing a mask or somebody else is wearing a mask. This technology was with MI6 had this technology in the late 60s. I mean, so, and then I believe it was the CIA picked up on it, and then in the 70s, they perfected it. So it's been around for a long, and they've had, as you know, Mike, they've had voice modulators where you can change the tonality of somebody's voice just by having it down here also. So the technology is way farther than we could possibly imagine. So for people to not think that doesn't exist, I'm dumbfounded, to be honest with you at this point.
Yeah, when I was in the CIA, we had all kinds of disguisers. I was in disguisers quite often. I had a mustache kit, I had a wig kit. I would get sprayed so I looked darker. I mean, just on and on and on. We had different clothes we would wear. So it's a lot of us know this is the case. Now I never saw the masking, but in the recent Mission Impossible, it was all about masking. They were like disclosing like crazy. It was like, wow. So,
what are your thoughts on the Christmas photo with Trump? Melania was not in the Christmas photo, and they say that Melania will only appear with the authentic Trump. But there's been different scenarios. So I don't know if y'all have picked up on any comms that would say which one is real. The people who love Trump who've had their picture and have been to Mar-a-Lago, they don't want to hear that story because that breaks their importance. Are there a proximity to greatness? So they won't buy that. I've known people in our circle that have been there, but no, that's the real one. That's, because I can only be with the real one, but what are your thoughts on Melania not in the picture? And also the Trump is in Mount Cheyenne versus these other ones are a very talented double, by the way,
Well, I'll just say I've had that exact conversation with two people that have had a picture with maybe President Trump, and they both weren't very happy with me when at the end of the conversation. But let's have Michael take that with about Melania, and then I'm actually going to see, which Michael will love, is I'm going to actually tell you about a remote viewing I did a long time ago that had to do with Melania, which is very, very compelling to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, your remote views are exceptional. So in my remote view recently, looking for Trump, I don't find him. So I don't see him anywhere. So I don't know if he's in Cheyenne Mountain and he's like, I just can't see there, but I don't see Trump at all, the living Trump. And I haven't seen him for a long time. There was a long time while Trump was in office that I would connect with him a lot and I would protect him. And I would say something in my podcast and the next day Trump would put it out too. So we had some kind of connection going on that was pretty strong there for a while. And then when he got sick, I remember I was in D.C. doing a protective detail.
He's a clone now. Everything you see is a clone. So I really just asked in the remote viewing, let me go find him. And the real guy was driving in the back of a limo. So I'm like, okay. And then there was another one where I forgot why I went to look for him, because I believe it had something to do with him being sick or disappeared for a while, where people couldn't really find him. And I found the weirdest scenario. In this, of course, this could be wrong, but this is what I found: is I saw him in like pajamas, standing in a bedroom that's not so huge, but it almost felt like a jail. But I didn't feel like he was in. Felt like he was there on purpose to be protected. And then I started getting the more I looked into it, I started getting these hits. Bam! It's almost like somebody's trying to fight me to get me out of there. And every time I popped in, I would get slapped again, and then I would go out and come back in. I've never had that sensation before. So it was like it's almost like they knew. And they're like, no, you can't be looking at this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But the most
I totally agree with you, because I got similar hits
right.
a couple of years ago. I looked at it like you did a couple of years ago, and I saw him like in a room. It was a comfortable room, but he was there by himself. And I felt that he was protected there. So there are groups that have remote viewing, remote influencing abilities that protect that information and mask that. And some of us that look at that, we get pushed, like you're talking about. That is real. I've done that with a Getty, going underneath the Getty. There's definitely some nasty stuff that's under the Getty, but they have remote viewers and influencers that basically detect people that are looking, and they come after them. So Yeah.
Okay, so that I love that. So we had a parallel remote viewing, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
really cool. Now, the most compelling one I've ever had in regards to President Trump was very interesting. I don't know if you guys recall that Ann Vandersteel said she reported that the White House was evacuated, and that's why Trump was in office. The White House was evacuated. Everybody had to get out immediately. And I said, okay, well, let me remote view that. And this is back then. I was doing it a lot more often. And I went and I immediately I found, well, they weren't all evacuated. It looked like essential personnel were all there, which I thought was very, very interesting. And then I saw Trump sitting down and Melania standing talking to a general and President Trump, almost as if she was the one in charge,
That's, yeah.
which is very interesting to me at the time. It's like she was the one pointing and she was the one saying this. And the next thing you know is she did something else, and then a general escorted Barron out of the White House. But Melania looked like she was in charge. But here's what's interesting. The next day, Ann Vandersteel says, oh, my information was wrong. Essential personnel were still in the White House. And that's interesting because I remote viewed that the day before, and I mentioned it the day before, and then she said that. So the remote viewing is real. I'm not compelled to do it as much as I have done it before. One of the reasons why is I'm now in the position where I think of more influence in trying to push the ball forward to get things done. So I kind of live in the 3D realm, and some people would call the other one the 5D realm. I'm in and out of that right now. So I don't talk about it much, but hey, with Michael JACO, who actually taught me how to remote view.
I want a course.
Because you should. It's amazing. And it was very simple, the techniques he taught me. Because see, I used to do astral projection a lot.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah.
When I was younger, but I never had any control. I would pop out, pop back in. I get attacked. It was just weird stuff. And then Michael taught me a few techniques that I used years ago.
Exciting.
It was like 4 years ago, Mike, right? It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. You got it very quickly. And I think the reason why you got it is because you're very open to that information. You're kind of like you've been maybe exposed to it, and you're like, well, maybe this guy who's former Navy SEAL, maybe he's not a BSer, maybe I can work with him, and that opened that door for you because it was already open already, and then you're like, okay, I can trust this, and then you just took off. I was like, wow, you're like one of my big time. You're like the ultimate student. But everyone has that ability to do what we do. You can be intuitive, you can be a remote viewer, you can influence prayer, love vibration stuff. All of us have that within us. It's just if you want to do it and you want to invite that in. So that's the thing. Now, as far as like Barron, I love you went in that direction, but Barron, Trump's Marvelous Adventures.
Yep.
Right.
So it's crazy, right? So one of the hits I got, and I was talking to my wife Tracy about this, I was like, you know how Barron never smiles? You never see him smiling. And it's like during that time frame, back in the 1800s or whenever this was written, they didn't smile because that was the style back then. You didn't smile. That was a later thing where you showed emotion, but back then you never see anybody smiling because it looked ridiculous. It's like, oh, they're like cuckoo if they're smiling. So no one smiled. So I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. But Tracy looked it up, and you can see he has as a young boy he has smile. But and then recently I saw one where he's like a giant man and he's smiling. So in that Christmas photo, he's like almost a whole head taller than Trump, and Trump's a tall guy. He's like,
and Trump's like 6'4", right? 6'3".
Yeah, he's tall. He's real tall. and Barron is like, wow. It's like what planetary system did Melania and he come from?
Yeah,
like,
I was going to ask the two of you because this is your forte, not me. What alien would that be?
Alien. my starseed people
Palladian.
early on,
I got that too.
5 years ago, was Pleiadian.
Yep.
And the storyline was that there's a 3D narrative and there is a cosmic narrative. The 3D narrative is that Putin arranged a marriage for, because it's a white hat mission. Introduced or had or knew of her for many, many years ago. So he might have known that she's Pleiadian. But oh my God. Okay, good. Thank you for putting on the hat. Okay, and this is my information that comes through collective consciousness. This is not my story, and I'm not going to double down on it and say it. This is collective consciousness that came into my experience. They said she was Pleiadian, and that was the starseed choice, and that your remote view on the fact that she plays a higher role. She was allegedly a major officer in the Galactic Federation, allegedly from the cosmic narrative. So if that is true, I'm not. I've had people that have great discernment with some things that claim this and say that, and then so there you go. What do you know? Maybe not.
No, I think that's really cool. So people ask me why I don't remote view as much right now, and it's just because here's my take, and I want to get both of your opinions on this. I do believe that there are white hats. I do believe that the white hats took out what I call all the heads. So they cut off the heads of the Hydra. Well, if anybody understands what a Hydra is, it will grow back multiple heads. So I believe what we're in right now is we're in a cleanup operation. I believe they've taken out all the main baddies, literally the families, that everything. Mm-hmm. But the challenge is, and you've seen this in, let's say when Giuliani took out the mob in New York. It did an amazing job taking out the heads, but what they didn't calculate is the second, third, and fourth guy started vying for position, and it became really, really messy. I believe we're in messy right now, in my opinion. Oh, and this is why I step back now, and I'm very pragmatic. I go to the border. I try to give tools because I believe we, the people, and our energies all focused in one direction is what's going to turn this around.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you're right about, taking out, you cut one head off the Hydra, it grows another. But, as in a military operation, and when I was in the CIA, and both, as a Navy SEAL and in the CIA, we were like, okay, where's the head? And we chopped that head off. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, somebody else steps up, it's like, chop that one off, and then somebody else steps up, chop that one off, and just on as long as it takes. Who's next, and then no one steps up anymore. And that's where we're close to that point, I believe, now.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I was going to say about affirming that there might be a Galactic Federation or all-Earth influence into our reality, there's been so much disclosure on those aspects that were why else other than into the 17Q narrative operation, as it filled in the blanks for me. I spent years trying to discern why that wasn't being taken care of. It fits the negative beings versus the light beings philosophies, being in service of self and being service of others. So that paradigm to have an off-earth reality makes sense. So I think we're going to have disclosure before we can really all come together and unite. There's going to have to be a high level of disclosure on what really is taking place off Earth and what really is taking place with the children. Because those are two main narratives that are secrets. It's the only reason for the secret societies, is to be able to be people that are, whether they're compartmentalized agents within the secret societies, and the secret societies were to navigate this classified area that they didn't think public could hide. But the only reason to have secrets is for deception and to do something negative. You don't need to have secrets because if they can live with this truth, we can live with this truth. If the human person, once you know what your truth is, you can navigate. You can know that there's an agency out there working with it. You can call the cosmic hotline and say, I saw, a reptoid or whatever, So we have to have disclosure, in order to unite as a universal and a cosmic world. you know.
Yeah, I would say that now for both of you, and you guys will be more in touch with this than me for real, or for sure for real when I'm a teenager again. Um, so would you say that there's an outside energy that can help people wake up? Like there'll be some type of pulse, or maybe there's something inner earth, or something that we don't know about. So because our discernment is getting better and better, I think that's through disclosure and people unfortunately being harmed by this movie that we're watching. Therefore, they're starting to wake up. But do you think there's something more esoteric out there that can help, that's going to help people wake up? Because it is a slow process right now.
Go ahead, Alan.
Okay, I'll tell you my take on that is the Schumann resonance started rising on November 11th, 2018, which is 11-11-11. We know that the cosmic connection to the military operation, the Space Force operation, and the galactic, they're using the synchronicity codes. I call it Q math. And so what happened is the coincidence of there being an article, a scientific report, that they noticed this frequency rising beginning November 11th of 2018, which is 2018 is 11, November's 11th, and it happened on November 11th today. I have it in my article on the 11/11 coincidence with the Q military movement. So the elevation of raising the vibration from 3D, we know that the negative beings need that 3D loose energy, lower vibration in order to feed their interdimensional and the negative beings the battery part. So that is in sequence with the fact that raising the vibration does make ascension, and also people's pineal glands will a little bit more naturally decalcify with a higher frequency. So this Schumann resonance and these solar flares that have been happening recently, this is I have felt it. I heard Poppy the other day talk about he thought he was having ascension symptoms. He could feel it in his body. I'm feeling electricity in my body. I don't know if it's if I'm picking up from this higher frequency on Earth. And this is how we're allegedly supposed to ascend within the body, and the DNA activate within our body as they closed off our DNA. And allegedly these higher frequencies would activate our 12-strand DNA beyond the 2-strand. So I have within the legacy media, science community documented that on that date, that is in alignment with the same date that the Queen surrendered. They started communicating with me. I happened to be a numerology 11. So it's kind of like, was I selected and they were using that radio station? So they chose certain people that had that natural radio station frequency in their human design that they could communicate with them. I feel like they have downloaded to my consciousness things ahead of time. Is why I would write it. And then, because the things I wrote in my blog are now what's being collectively told out there by Jan Hopper Hayes, S.G. Anon, originally Lynn Wood, who read my blog. So there's something going on with the higher frequencies and the 11/11. So the Schumann resonance is rising. So there is I think the fact that it's continually been rising since that date, that there is something related to the frequency. For us waking up. And they could zap us. I think that they could zap us with a higher, wake us all up at once, but we're not ready. They're trying to, they're trying to put some 3D narrative in so that the timelines are stabilized. If they woke us all up before the timelines were stabilized, it could be chaotic. So I feel like that they're stabilizing the timeline that they want us to go to. And, people will disappear out of the game, out of the simulation, if they're not supposed to be in that timeline. So there's a big adjustment bureau thing going on, I feel, for that to happen.
Yeah, like in 2012, I couldn't see past 2012 as a remote viewer for quite some time. And then as we got closer to it, I'm like, we've jumped a timeline. I can see now. So there is that. I think we've jumped the timeline again. And that we're getting stuff from the central sun.
Yes.
So God consciousness is starting to come through more and more, and it's zapping our sun, and our sun's zapping Earth, and that's raising the frequency. So we're going to see, I believe, more of the stuff that happened in the Miami Mall. whether you want to believe that happened or not. But I think stuff like that will start to happen for more people and abilities. Like we're remote viewers and intuitives. I think more people are going to start to wake into that. It's just going to it's just going to happen. It's going to be spontaneous. People will start reading other people, their thoughts, and all kinds of crazy stuff are just going to start to happen. Some people are going to freak out by it, as already happened to a lot of people over time. But I think as more and more people start to experience that and start to, talk about it like we're talking about it, it makes it more palatable to people to hear us, give our opinions and our thoughts on this. It helps people once they are influenced by these frequencies and so forth. They're not going to be so shocked by it. So the reveal, like Alan was talking about, I think there's massive amounts of reveal that still have to come, even reveals that's going to shock us. I'm not above being shocked. Absolutely. I'm stunned by stuff all the time myself, and I like that, but some people won't change, and that's fine. They're not going to get it. It's like, we've been talking change about a lot of different things and how people need to wake up to this or that, and it's starting to happen faster and faster and faster. 9/11, so many people are awakening to that. It's like, is there still anybody asleep on 9/11? Probably. Starting to get wise to all that, and it's becoming more and more as far as like the energies are coming in. As we reach enough of us reach a certain vibrational frequency, which a lot of us are faster and faster and faster. That's why the reveals are coming so fast now. It's like you're talking about, Lewis, in the beginning. It's like we're just a few days into this new year. It feels like we've had a year's worth of reveals all already in the first week. It's insane. Yeah.
It definitely feels accelerated. Guys, we have some responsibilities here. I know Robert wants to get to this, but guess where we're going to go next? Mandela effect, which is exactly where I'd like to lead this based on what the both of you just said. So, Robert, take it away.
This conversation is on fire as far as our chat room is concerned. They love this show. Michael, thank you so much for bringing the heat here, and Alan also. You guys are just doing a bang-up job. We really appreciate it. We are sponsored by a company called Neumi, and we want to talk a little bit about that. Lewis and I love the Neumi spray. We a little bit of spray, refresh the face a little bit, makes us feel good as we go through and do these shows, because it's hard on us to do the amount of prep work and being fresh and always looking fresh on camera. So tools that we can use that'll help us. Glutathione is one. This is a nanoparticle glutathione spray, and it's really great for your skin. It does a couple of things for you. Number one, it lightens the skin, and number two, it tightens the pores. And what that means is tightening the wrinkles. And Lewis and I can confirm that there are many ladies who contacted us and said they're using less makeup, and some are actually going without any makeup because of this spray. The owner of the company sprayed one hand and not the other, and you see the before and after pictures, and it's like, what? It's crazy how well this works. So want to invite you to go check that out. And also we have Neumi Hers, as Lewis likes to call it, Neumi Hers for Hims. It makes a lot of sense to get this for your lady because it increases their libido. It also helps them with menstrual stuff and hot flashes. There's a lady who contacted me and said she has hot flashes, and she'll take 2 capfuls of this, swish it around in her mouth for a couple of minutes, and within 10 minutes, the hot flash is over, gone. So it's really great to hear those stories as well. Want to get your hands on this? I'll tell you where to go. lherms.neumi.com, and that first letter is an L, not an I. lherms.neumi.com, and you can also scan that QR code. It'll take you right to that website. Lots of love for you, Lewis, in the chat room.
This may end up on JACO's channel. Look at the link below. He'll have his own link too for the movies, for the Neumi. And I don't know if Alan, I said you're about ready to get started with that also. All right. Thank you, Robert. Mandela effect. So it's been prominent in my life for a while, and I've talked about this a lot. But guess what happened just 2 days ago? My son, which is not a conspiracy theorist at all, we were in my wife's salon, and he's listening to music. And a song came up by Tears for Fears that I've known as Everyone Wants to Rule the World. Well, they sang in the song, Everyone Wants to Run the World. And he looked befuddled, and I wasn't really paying much attention. And I go, "What's going on?" And he goes, "Dad, am I wrong? Isn't it supposed to be everyone wants to rule the world?"
There were actually two versions of the song, Lewis, on that particular one. They actually did
Oh,
it
is there?
twice. They did. I remember that they did that. They did two versions of that song, "Run and Rule." That's the only word they changed. There were two versions of it.
So the one he was listening to was the one I've never heard
Right.
before.
Yeah.
And why would they do that?
There was some controversy back then. This is back in the 80s, right? So it was a while back. There was some kind of controversy, and they went ahead and they changed it. Don't really remember why. Be interesting to go look it up, though, because that's an interesting one.
Well, yeah, and right here on SBG, I got fact check in real time, so that's good, because we want to give you the real information. But here's the one that really gets me is there's a song by Queen, right? And at the end of the song, he always whispers at the other song, and he goes, "Any way the wind blows." That's the end of the song. I know it because when I was 10, I would play that in 10, 11, and 12. I would play that album incessantly over and over and over and over, and I always knew it was coming. Well, you're not going to find that version anywhere now, which is very interesting. Let's go into the Monopoly Man. Well, I knew he always had a monocle on.
Yeah.
Now you don't find him with a monocle on. So am I crazy, or is the Mandela effect real?
I think that's absolutely real. There's so many things that I've seen, like we're talking about Jim Neighbors. I remember that's a misrepresentation. But there's so many things like you're talking about that have been changed over time. I mean, the Flintstone stuff, just all kinds of crazy stuff. And what is that? Is that like, Baron Trump time traveling stuff?
Yeah. And they're just very subtle changes. So the question is, are they changed on purpose to mess with us?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're changed on purpose so they know which timeline they're on. Maybe they change it on purpose. They change Jiffy peanut butter. By the way, it was Jiffy peanut butter when I grew up, and now it's Jif, and supposedly it never was Jiffy. Okay, if that's the case, maybe they go, oh, if we see the Jif, we're on timeline A. If there's Jiffy here, we're on timeline B.
I like that, Lewis. And I'll tell you another thing that goes along with that is I feel that more is coming out in collective consciousness right now about timelines and also simulations. And if we are somewhat in a simulation, and like even with the celebrities right now, I'm looking at the Golden Globes and different events, and I see celebrities, they just don't look the same. Whether it's clones, they just don't look the same. And it's almost like in this timeline here, they didn't really use adrenochrome, so this is how they naturally look in this timeline we're in right now, or something of that nature. But I do sense that there's a show out there called the Umbrella Academy on Netflix. The Umbrella Academy is about this billionaire adopts 7 or 8 children, and they all are born on October 1st. It happens to be my same birthday. They happen to all be numerology 11, and their goal of being here is to stop the apocalypse. They have a time traveler. They have all of these people who have gifts that I would consider like a star seed or a super soldier, and they are working to stop the apocalypse. But one of them jumps timelines, and in this show, they have to merge a timeline to stop the apocalypse. So if there's any truth in that disclosure, which happens to balance with the experiences I'm having, I often wonder, okay, there's something there. There's something about that show, the Umbrella Academy. One of the episodes I had, they popped out an umbrella in a street ritual, So this Umbrella Academy, I think, is in alignment with the Adjustment Bureau. I think these secret agencies are the ones who are helping stabilize timelines. So maybe the way that they affect the future civilization and even in the ascension, maybe what they're doing is a lot of emphasis is going into timeline stabilization. And so until we have disclosure on this element, We know that the Philadelphia experiment, Phil Snyder, back in the 40s with the time travel, this has been documented in military papers. So we know that that exists. They were experimenting with it. And the energy that was required to make that happen is the same energy that allegedly they're using in the three elements that allows anti-gravity aircraft to fly. There's a power source, and there was three elements. One of my military guys gave it to me a few years ago, and I did a podcast on what those three elements were. And they were keeping it real hush-hush because they said that in the wrong hands that a buffoon could destroy the universe with a C battery, or AA battery. So that was one reason for the protection of that information. But I do think that until we get more advanced information on simulation, timelines, which would explain the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect, and maybe like you said, Lewis,
yes.
That is how how we have comms and we understand things in comms. That's the people that have the classified security clearances, the way that they group consciously know what time. That makes a lot of sense to me, Lewis. From what I'm pulling out of, I'm pulling this from the ether.
No, as we should though, right? Because that's where the real information is, and that's what we have to start figuring out. That is where you capture the real information. So it's interesting you brought up the Philadelphia experiment, because that was not a failed experiment. People think that was a failed experiment. No, it wasn't. It was successful. What they failed at is determining when they jumped back onto the ship, that the ship, because of the waves or the surf, would be at a higher or a lower level. So the people didn't jump back at the same level that they disappeared from, and that ship rose up. And when they came back, that's why they were stuck halfway in the ship, and so on and so forth. So I believe the Philadelphia experiment was a successful experiment, but it was debunked, of course, and then categorized later when they found out it was a true experiment as failed, but it really wasn't. I don't believe. And is CERN real? Hello.
Yeah.
It absolutely. So they're messing with timelines.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask you guys both this. What's it going to take where people stop and they go, okay, this is not God's will to be screwing with timelines? When is it going to take where we have a collective consciousness where we go, okay, no, we don't play this game anymore. This is not appropriate. Michael?
Yeah. So Andrew Basiago, he's part of I think Operation Pegasus or something like that. He talks about as a little boy, they basically put him in some kind of device that sent him into the past and the future. He went to the Gettysburg Address, and there's actually a photo that has him in it. Unbelievable. So it is definitely a capability that is out there. Now, I have memories in the secret space program. I went to Gaia and did a regression into my memories of the secret space program, and part of those memories is being part of the timeline wars. So in the timeline wars, basically, we would travel and try and stop out the deep state from changing the timeline. And some of the stuff that we're seeing, the Mandela effect, is some of that. And like you're saying, it's basically an indicator. Yeah, we changed this. We won this portion, or we did this, because it's kind of indicator that they either took somebody out or they changed the timeline so it would, run a certain way. So you're right about that. It's indicators to the people in this timeline that we sent back these guys and they were successful. But that works both ways. The good guys actually stop that out, a lot of it, and then the bad guys do their thing, and then the good guys look at that and it's like, oh, we got to go change that back. And so there's all that stuff going on. It's back on the timelines. So, some of the stuff we're seeing right now is a result of that. I can tell you that we win ultimately because because we're of the higher energy realms, the pure God energy. The negative lower consciousness, it's all God energy, but
Yeah.
it's a lower level, less evolved. So as you evolve, you basically break free from the lower levels of consciousness and the control systems and the negativity that we're seeing now. It's like we're saying, it's up to us. We're tired of playing this game. We're tired of playing Monopoly and it changing on us. Let's push forward and break free. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
They lowered our frequency. Number one, with chaos, war, stress, strife. They took us from a higher dimension frequency down to the 3D and made us batteries and made us food. They harvested our energy. They harvested our children. We became harvested. And so by raising that frequency up in a dimension in which they can't survive or feed, I feel is what's happening to choke them out. And, so maybe the timelines are going to stabilize when we get to that element where those beings cannot find food in this realm. I hope.
Yeah, no, well, we all know they feed off of fear. I've been beating that drum for a long time, and that's why we need to stand in faith and courage.
Yeah.
Now, my wife and I have experienced, we've talked about this a lot over the last year. It seems like there's just a sudden energy shift. It's negative, and then it's positive, and that would indicate to me that we are in a timeline battle because of the way the energy is shifting back and forth. Before I continue, speaking about energy, I want to send out there, thank you very much to all our admins on all platforms. You guys keep us going. Thank you to Lisa Richards in the background that does so much work for us, and Sharon and everybody. I'm not going to mention everybody specifically. My wife for being so incredibly supportive. But let's talk about some energies and some thank yous right now. Again, Robert, you're going to be very pleased with this. We are now number 5 on Rumble Live. And we've been consistently have been knocking that out of the park for the last week. Thank you,
really
viewers.
Yeah.
Thank you, viewers, for coming on live and watching this, because that's the only way we can break these algorithms is with the live viewers. Now, that's great. If you're not watching live, that's fantastic. Enjoy. Please like, share, do all of that. But Robert and I have been studying this for a while, and we figured that it looks like the only way to really break the algorithms is to get on the front page of Rumble while we are live, which we are in multi-categories right now. And this one, we're simulcasted. So it's even on other channels that are simulcasting this. I'm also watching that we're breaking the algorithm. So guys, thank you very much for that great job. That really helps us moving forward.
Really does. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you. And this is a great show. People are really enjoying the content here today.
They are loving it. In fact, many people, guys, are saying, "Oh, we got to watch Alan and Michael again," because they're just enjoying this a lot. So I don't want to go too much farther, but I do want to mention this. My vision, unfortunately, is it's going to be darker before it's dawn.
Yeah.
And I believe that one of the only way to really do the final wake up is with a financial collapse. I'm not wishing for it.
Yeah.
I just think people have been bred to be so selfish. Even people within my family, I can see it daily on the type of, they have to have a name brand or they have to have, society has bred that into us to be so selfish that sometimes they don't see it until it affects them directly. Well, when the banks collapse, stock market collapses, and people start seeing the dollar is non-existent virtually, I think that's when that's going to be that next tier of awakening. But I also see, unfortunately, while the illegals pouring into the borders, and I remote viewed this a while ago, a long time ago, that I don't know why, but there's 14 cities that I see are going to have some serious issues. Now, all that being said, it was also looked like it was just glorious after that was all said and done. So I'm setting you guys up for this discussion is where do you think we are, where we're going to go? And do you think it's all going to end up being pretty amazing like I'm seeing? Let's start with Alan on this one.
Well, this is a big question. I play devil's advocate, and I play it's like, what am I supposed to be saying versus what are the possible scenarios that could possibly be taking place? I literally see validation of things that we knew 5 and 6 years ago to be true, now coming out in legacy media consciousness on some level. Took a very long time to get here. So the fact that we are having these people, even though like Dr. Jen Halper Hayes, she does have a history with being able to be on a task force with the Department of Defense. Her validating things that we wrote and discerned 5 years ago now, that means that it is actually getting the respect of the Pentagon. The Pentagon is who came into my life in 2015. And, we know that we think our military, there's some black hats and some white hats. But the fact that they came into my life via a forensic psychologist, and I kept thinking, is that forensic psychologist part of Terry was engaged? I see that reality coming true. There's no need to wake up this millions and millions of humans. Did you see the TikTok where they stormed the Rothschild Castle in Switzerland? This happened this week. So
name that country again, because
Switzerland.
Exactly. I've been saying from the beginning. Michael heard me say this like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
All roads will lead back to Switzerland. That's going to be the end game, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I happen to have, I'm still either heartbroken, undecided on personal people that have been in my life. They have associations with Switzerland. I don't know until these people come out. They're either arrested, or whatever. I don't know what the truth is until we get into that end timeline. But to answer your question, I am more in the belief of what we're doing as a white hat, the galactic associations, connections, all is real. I think for whatever reason, the military has had to stall, play hopscotch, timeline stabilization, a host of things so that they have the least collateral damage to innocent people. And I even though it hasn't gone in my time demands, I've been frustrated. And the fact that we are probably able to see in that higher vibration 5 and 6 years, 10 years ahead, that's what gets us frustrated. But the rest of the society has to get there with us. So what they're doing is this operation is being compassionate to people who are deeply cognitive dissonant and who have blocked pineal glands, plus some people who might need to stay in a certain timeline with a blocked pineal gland, because the timeline we're going to, their consciousness shouldn't shift until, so there's plausible reasons if timelines, wars are reality and simulation is reality. Why? Because I made a post today. There's a close family member who is very aware of my situation, but they posted all of this pro-Biden supportive stuff. They're using, back in, they came up with, they filed a civil suit against Google, Sergey Brin, even the original Elon Musk, or if it's still the same Elon Musk who's flipped, whatever, for AI technology in China. This happened in 2017. It's in my blog in the article. They for crimes against humanity for abusing MK Ultra AI technology to have power over the masses. So they're still doing that. So I don't know if, like you and I had a conversation, they've probably taken this. The white hats are using this same technology still, even though they talk it, to make sure we get to the right place. Because if it's so I think the white hats have taken some of the sinister things in order to help get us to the other way. So my vote is on we're still going where the white hat, benevolent, galactic, Pleiadian light force energies, Q17, we're still on that timeline movement, and we're going there because I can see it all coming into fruition.
Yeah, it's
good things coming.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Update: we are now number 3 live on Rumble, so it's growing. I don't think we're going to pass Real America's Voice today, but we're getting closer. Michael, what do you think about the thought that I'm having about it's going to get worse? We'll have to see some form of a collapse and a bunch of tragedy. It's going to be more than one. I think it is an experience where there's going to be a lot going on. But then we see that it's just glorious afterwards. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, I definitely see the gloriousness afterwards, but I definitely also see, hard times ahead. Now, if we look at history, we look at the Battle of Thermopylae, it was basically a very tough time, but because of the Spartan warriors basically leaning into the advancing, Persian army at the hot gates. You had basically the way the Spartan line would, work together. You'd have like the shield in front, and then you have like a stack of Spartan warriors behind them, leaning into that one guy that held the line.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have guys so that like over the top would like be stabbing and under and all kind of great stuff. So they basically held the line for several days. Now, I think we're at that point where everyone is like, enough is enough, right? The white hats have been playing this along too long. It's time for us to get involved. And I think the world is going to start to lean into it. The Switzerland attack on the Rothschild Castle, we're seeing in Germany, in Berlin, where the Nazis were like, that's where they started. Now they're all around the world, of course. But now we see the people of Germany have come in with their tractors and have shut down Berlin. And now, who did the Germans first attack? It was Poland. So the Polish are actually lending a hand as well. They're getting involved. So is this the start? Is this the start of what I've been seeing, is where the people start to really rise up and start to push back, kind of like at the hot gates, Thermopylae, and stopping the line and pushing back the line? Now, it wasn't long after the hot gates that the Persians went and basically sacked Athens and burned that city. But a year later, the Greeks worked together as a group, which they rarely did, but they worked together as a group. They came together and they destroyed the Persian army. The Persian army was defeated at sea. They were defeated them on land, and then it was a complete rout. So we're going to see that this year, I believe. We're going to see a massive rout of the deep state. And I think it's starting right now. All the stuff that's coming, it couldn't have happened unless we had been prepared. We had been awakened. All of the truther community, all of the people awakening during the last year, it's been a massive wake up. And now it's really hitting, faster and faster and faster. It's going to reach a crescendo, and it's going to really come at these people that have been, controlling us. This Persian army of, no one could defeat it. They were basically controlling and defeating the whole world. It's going to get reversed on them. It will take time. I think it will take generations, but the start has already happened. It's like the hot gates are happening right now, and we're going to win. There's going to be, like you're talking about, Lewis, there are going to be some cities I think they're going to burn and go bad. I've talked about this for years. Just like you talked about Switzerland, I've been saying we're going to see a lot of cities go down hard. And that's because there's people that are, not going to want to come play. They've been pampered all their lives, and they're like, no, I like that system. Don't take it away. Don't make the stock market go away in that Babylonian money magic. I love that. So there's going to be some, hard sells. But eventually, when they see how amazing it is on this other side of this, they're going to come along as well.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I'm producing a film called Breaking Babylon that I hope will help people come along, because it's exposing the Babylon system, how it's actually falling. Guys, this has been a wonderful conversation. Let's get Robert in here. Do you have any questions before we leave, or any of your amazing wisdom?
I'm just sitting back here and enjoying all of it, but I'm on board. I do believe it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I know a lot of people have been using the March timeline as a time frame is when things are going to start to turn in the other direction. I believe we're getting close to that tipping point, but we're not quite there yet. And there has to be a boom before the pendulum swings in the other direction. So we haven't quite gotten there yet, although we are inching closer to it. 9 days into January, like you said at the beginning of this, Lewis, it is crazy how much is coming out and how quickly it's coming out, and how, I think, from my perspective, unabated it has been. It's just coming out and coming out and coming out, and it's showing up in mainstream media too, which I think is another win that we have to pay attention to.
Yeah, agreed. Robert, thank you. Guys, thank you very much. I appreciate this conversation. I'm watching the chat. The lives are still growing. People are just loving this, so they'll probably go back and watch it many times. Real quick, Alan, where can we find you? And then Michael, let's talk about where we can find you.
You can find me on Linktree. That's www.link.tr.ee FOUNTAIN Fountain FOUNTN or more podcasts, or you can go to any search engine, Brave, and Google my name.
Thanks, Alan, and we appreciate you. And guys, give Alan some love for sure. He's worked so hard and he's gone through it. Michael, where can we find you?
MichaelKJaco.com. All my links and everything is there, so it's really super easy. MichaelKJaco.com.
Excellent. And folks, when you hear us talking about events and dates and so on and so forth, always remember, though, the cabal doesn't work off the Gregorian calendar. That's the satanic calendar that they want us to look at. They're working off of a completely different calendar.
Yep.
All right. God bless everybody. Thank you very much. Robert, I guess play our exit, and then we're ready to go.
Awesome.